I'm your co-host, AJ Chavre. We've got a tremendous guest kind of next to me in the other frame. That is Meike Babel. And next to me, out of frame, is the great Craig Bell. Craig Bell, you ready to start us off?
Almost here. Let me check. Yep, we were there. So
he is, of course, co-hosting, but also producing tonight with the live streams, both of them. And here we go.
All right, James Scott Campbell, let's get it going.
Friends, to another episode of the At the Net podcast, powered by Tex-Mex Productions. Working the soundboards in the back of the house are our producers, D-Mac and Dave the Brain. Time to say hello to your hosts, Craig Bell and AJ Chavre, as they're about to take us through 3 sets of tennis, talking life and all the news as it seems to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Bell.
All right, thanks go out to our At the Net podcast girl, Margot Carter, for that. You ready for the word of the night?
It's got to be in German.
Sehr gut.
Sehr gut. Sehr gut. Very good.
Is that pretty good? Is that pretty good from Oklahoma? Yeah, that's my Oklahoma German right there.
Nice. It was, I could understand it, so I guess that's
well, good. I'm glad I passed, because sometimes I don't. I mangle the English language, and I wouldn't be very good in German. But
trust me, I have people like throwing something at me in German, and I go,
uh-oh, it's been a decade, huh?
Well, I was going to try another word, but I would listen to it about 3 or 4 times. I go, no, I can't do that. So I'm just going to go, sehr gut. I understand that one. That's the introduction. And welcome, fans of the great game. You're listening to Season 1, Episode 118 of At the Net Podcast with AJ Chavre on my left, as always.
And to my right, the great Craig Bell, as always.
And we're talking the great game of tennis as it seems to us. Thanks also go out to our good amigos at Tex-Mex Productions. That would be one Darian D. Mac McBrayer and Dave the Brain. We didn't see the Brain tonight. So
we didn't see Brain. I should tell you, I did have lunch with Darian's dad today.
Oh,
Isn't that
really?
an interesting wrinkle? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, producer's dad, but producer isn't here. But it's funny.
Yeah, normally they're from back of the house, but I'm back of the house tonight and on the soundboards, and not a hologram yet, as John Yandel says. That we don't have enough money to do that. So
not yet.
Yeah, but we're going to get there someday. So I'm moving the dials and buttons to make us look and sound like real people. Also, be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Plus, check out our good work on. Is it time for the cleansing breath? Fireside, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Spotify. I did it again.
Well done, buddy.
It's a wonder that I did that. Basically, all the important communication sites the kids find popular today. And if you'd like to read the opening and intro for At the Net podcast, like the great Margot Carter, hit AJC up on some digits, right?
That's right. You can email, DM me, whatever, and we'll look at a demo tape. Look forward to having some diverse, fun voices out there.
Well, speaking of sehr gut, right there, we have a guest tonight that's... It's very good, I think, in German.
Yeah.
Right. We have a very good guest. Like I said, I was looking at unbelievable, excellent, but I just couldn't pronounce those. So I didn't want to try that and embarrass myself, but I knew sehr gut because I've seen that and heard that on Hogan's Heroes and different shows like that. So way back in the day.
Pretty much it could be mach schnell and sehr gut.
There
mach
we go.
schnell.
What you hear in movies. Yeah.
Max Schnell. I've heard that one too. Yeah, I love it.
Hurry up.
Well, like I said, my Oklahoma mangling of the German language, I did not want to put myself out there, but I did hear that a few times. I was listening on Google as we were before the show tonight, and sehr gut sounded very, very good. And so, Micah, we are glad to have you here tonight. Welcome to the At the Net podcast. AJ and I are really looking forward to spending the next few 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 hours, right? Maybe.
Sure, I got nothing better to do.
She's ready for it.
I'm ready.
Clearly ready. Look at that smile. She's confident and ready. I love it.
She's ready to go.
Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure.
Yeah, no, we've known about you for a long time, and have the chance now to talk to you, and especially get to know you and about your career and what you got going on currently as well, and getting your thoughts on the great game, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So appreciate it once again. Join us here on the podcast, right, AJ?
You bet, yeah. So, folks at home, we're going to go through 3 sets as usual. First set will be Meike Babel's background in tennis. Second set, we'll get into current projects and future projects. And then in the third set, we'll just kind of let the hair down and have a great time talking rock and roll, film, social, and, really get to not just what Meike does, but who she is a bit, too. So that's
maybe David Hasselhoff. Maybe we'll talk some David Hasselhoff, because I've heard he's big in Germany.
That ages both of us. That ages both, all of us.
No, I won't do that. I just, we know Dirk Nowitzki, a local German basketball player. That was his number one. I think I was listening to the radio one time. They said Dirk was on. He said he loved David Hasselhoff, and we were all sitting there going, David Hasselhoff.
And it's like this funny callback to one of certainly my favorite SNL cast members, Norm Macdonald, who always says, which goes to prove my point that I always say, Germans love David Hasselhoff. He must have said it 50 times.
Hoff is boss.
I was barely born when that happened, so I claim innocence. I was not very,
Yeah.
He played the fifth if you're an American.
Yeah. She's a generation younger than us, CB. So, Micah, tell us, you grew up in the 80s, really, in Germany as a junior player. Certainly three of my favorites in the history of tennis, Michael Stich, Boris Becker, Steffi Graf, came out of your country and probably formed the way you play tennis. Tell us about you getting started in the great game of tennis back in Deutschland.
So both of my parents played.
Yeah.
And I think I was just my dad was a coach, but I was never pushed into it. But basically back in the day, it was, okay, one parent took my brother and the other took me when they were playing matches or going to practice or something. So, I grew up on the tennis court basically. And then, of course, with my dad being a coach, but it was very different than what it was now. I mean, you could leave your kid just running around in the club. And I was told, I have no recollection of that, that apparently some of the older kids just played with the younger ones. It was kind of a super community thing. And they started just teaching us sort of. And then I hung out with the older kids and I wanted to play tennis. And apparently at some point I may have borrowed a racket. I call it borrowing. Somebody else said I stole it as a 3 or 4 year old. And my dad couldn't find me. And somebody said like, oh, she's at the ball wall. She's been taking down the ball wall for hours. And he never knew that I started hitting because some of the older kids just started, tossing balls to us or to me, whatever it was. And the rest is history, as they say.
That is the most organic, free range origin story I've ever heard. And speaking of free range, I bet your papa taught you the one-handed backhand early, huh?
Well, actually, believe it or not, I was a two-hander.
Oh, you were?
One guy in our club had a fantastic one-hander, and my dad always looked at my grips to make sure that I have proper grips. Yeah. And so like, I want to hit the backhand like Michael. And he goes, okay. So I switched when I think I was 11 or 12. Total catastrophe in the beginning, but I'm glad that I made the switch because that's absolutely my favorite shot.
Yeah, it still is beautiful when you do. Oh, your forehand's great too. Your volleys are great. I haven't seen your serve. Yeah, I haven't seen your serve, but I bet it's still awesome. Not as good. That's
the shoulder.
It was the shoulder.
I don't serve a whole lot anymore.
That's why I haven't seen you serve, but I certainly saw you serve. I think 96 or 97 U.S. Open, and. You're a baller, and you're on the tall side, and you use the body awfully well. We'll talk a little bit about the body, but also the mind a bit later. But tell us about your transition from cute little 3-year-old taking down a wall to and stealing borrowing rackets, borrowing, appropriating equipment from others. But
I thought I put it back where I found it. That's what I was taught.
Of course. You probably even slept with it, but tell us about your journey into junior tennis and top European junior tennis, and then straight to pros. Tell us about that journey.
I was never one of the best juniors, really. Neither in whether it was county then or state or then in Germany, because whereas there were already kids. So one of my contemporaries is Anke Huber. And I remember the very first time I qualified, or I was picked for the German championships at the, I think, under 14s. She won it. And I was just looking from afar, going like, holy bananas. Yeah. Like, this is, but she was already really training a whole lot more, and me going to still playing basketball and hanging out with my friends, and total late bloomer, basically. So the time when I decided, okay, I really want to focus on tennis was maybe when I was 14. And because of, having a one-hander, being a little bit more versatile with coming in, trying to play serve and volley as a 10-year-old.
You get loved all
Always
the time.
a great idea. But it just took a little bit longer to put this all together. So, yeah, I was not ever picked for anything to represent Germany until I was 15, 16. And then that's when I really started to leapfrog some of my peers. And I think it was really due to my dad teaching and insisting on having really, really solid fundamentals and technique. And of course, that takes a little longer, instead of just hitting a backhand and a forehand. And yeah, I mean, the decision to turn pro was also a little random.
Really?
I got called in after, ninth grade, after, school was over. The principal called us in and said, like, well, we had complaints about Meike because, teachers can't grade her anymore because I was gone so many times then. So, I mean, I remember one time I walked into a biology class, Friday's last period, and the guy goes, "Who are you?" I was like, "I'm one of your students. I was just not here the first 6 weeks because it's still summer." So they said, like, well, you have to make a decision. Either you commit to more full-time schooling, or, here's the deal. You can turn pro, but, and then I did that with my parents. If I don't break into the top 200 within a year, then you can go back to school. I mean, you're being held back that 1 year, of course. Of course, which 16-year-old does not say, I'm not going to go to school anymore? I was like, woohoo, I'm out of here.
See ya.
But I had no freaking clue
None.
what I got myself into, to be honest. So that was, rather random.
Yeah, and your vulnerability and your humility, also your skills, it's inspiring, and I think it sounds like almost everything you're telling us can be spun as inspiring to somebody who's learning from you or somebody who's learning from us. And I know Craig and I, as coaches, we promote the attacking style and a well-rounded style, even if it means that you spend a bit more time developing rather than just getting results and winning. So we see that as such a good trade-off, and it's warming my heart to hear that you're so vulnerable and real about it. So we love that. Let's get into cracking the top 200, because clearly that happened and then some, right? You even cracked top 50, top 30, and you were, I don't think you were seeded in slams, but you were seeded in just about everything, yeah?
I think I made this, 32 when I was 27.
Yeah, it was 32.
I think at 1 or 2 I might have been.
Yes, good.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, my dad was my coach, and neither one of us, to be perfectly honest, had any idea what the hell was going on.
Awesome.
It was just, okay, I had done really, really well this summer before I then decided to quit school in 10s and 25s. I think I had one or two. And at that time, in the rankings, I think there were 600 or 700 women ranked. And I think now it's close to 2,500 or even 3,000.
Yeah.
So it was certainly a little easier to get your first steps in. And I do have to admit the German Federation did give me some wild cards.
They did.
And I did really well at those occasions. So I think that was really the key to jumping fairly fast and making pretty good strides. And within a year, I was, I think, in the top, just about, I think, qualifying for Grand Slam. So when it was then, time in the spring again to see, like, okay, I'm going to go back to school or not, it's like,
no,
definitely not. let me negate that right there. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't all, now I can laugh at it. And now, I can, hindsight, totally fun. And it was a rough time because, you're making this transition as a as a 16-year-old. And, I remember coming back to school and hanging out with my then, friends. And of course they couldn't relate to what I was doing, and I couldn't relate to what they were doing anymore. So I think I was fortunate that in my club in Germany, I had a group of really, really great friends who I then later also played with in team tennis. And we had a really good team and kept two really good friends from school that didn't care that I was playing tennis.
Yeah.
And that was really, really good to just, when you're doing tennis, you're doing tennis. But when you're with us, we're listening to Guns N' Roses, Temple Pilots,
rock and roll, man. Yeah,
and
90s.
And do whatever else kids do at that age.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to get to you saying sayonara to school, but then doing so much school when you moved here to the States after retiring from the WTA Tour. But let's stick to the tour a little bit. What are some memories that stand out for you, whether it's playing in your home country or in all four slams several times each slam?
I mean, the first years, super mega quadruple imposter syndrome.
Imposter.
Absolutely. I mean, I do remember that very vividly. First time I played at Roland Garros. I had played it as a junior once, but lost first round and was out of there within literally a couple of hours.
Oh, wow.
I was walking around and just going, kind of let me hide here in a corner somewhere. And then and in the beginning, you're the new kid. People don't know you. So it's really difficult to find hitting partners. And I do remember that Judith Wiesner.
Yeah, Judith Wiesner. Yeah, I remember her name. Yeah.
She was the first one of the back then big name. I mean, I think she was top 20 at the time, to hit with me and basically say, hey, kiddo, it's okay. We've all been there. And the first really strong and amazing memory was me playing Martina Navratilova.
Wow.
In Filderstadt. And I had just qualified. That was actually the first year right out of school. And we played the night match in Germany, in Stuttgart, what is now Stuttgart, and on clay. Back then it was on hard court. And we were waiting to be taken to the court for the night match, basically. And, you stand there in the players area, and I want to say she was one in the world at that point. I'm not 100, but definitely up there. She won the whole thing then, of course, again.
Yeah.
And I was literally shaking like a leaf.
Unbelievable.
In the waiting area. And Martina comes over, puts her arm around me and goes, take a couple of deep breaths. I saw you practice. You got a great backhand. Go out there. Let's have fun. You're going to be fine.
Unbelievable.
And I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Who would do that? Right. And that's just the person that she is. And that was, and I did really well that match. So I was actually able to walk, kind of die of nerves.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of the weird things. Like at one point you're like a total nobody, and then all of a sudden, somebody like that comes over and actually really cares about you as a person.
She's such an amazing tennis player, but also a mentor. Certainly one of my favorites. I'm guessing this was about 1992.
Yep. So, yeah,
Is
exactly.
that right? I'm also wondering, it's in Stuttgart, in Germany. Was there a Porsche in the corner of the court?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. What?
I couldn't even drive it. I wasn't even 18 yet.
So we certainly know Martina would have driven it well. That is
She did win it that year again. So
she
I think she has like 5 or 6 of those.
She not only owns many, she drives a manual and drives well. That lady is a remarkable driver, not just a player. What can we ask you about that we haven't already asked you about your time at the top of the game?
It was unfortunately cut a little short because that was the time really, I think it was 95. That's when I had my highest ranking. Uh-huh. And I'd finally started to put together everything, the transition from being a normal kid to now traveling full time, to making the mental adjustments, to finally my game coming together also, because again, even on tour, it still took a while to adjust. physically getting up to that level. And that's when injuries started to hit. So I think from 95 on, I never played one full season, but that was when I had my best results. And that was certainly when I started to kind of claw my way up into the top 30s, and also having some of my best results. And that incidentally was also where I definitely had my best results in team tennis in Germany.
Yeah.
Because everybody at the time played it because there was a lot of money in it. So I actually had much better results in team tennis than I ever had on tour by myself, because I love playing on a team.
On a team, yes.
You're looking out and there's your friends, and they were my friends. I mean, those were kids that were there and training there all year round, basically. It wasn't just a bought together team like many of the other teams. So it was really a feeling of, okay, these are my peeps, so to speak. And that kind of, ups it all a little bit.
Most of our friends who compete in, let's say, Fed Cup, Billie Jean King Cup, or Davis Cup, or college tennis, or take a guy like Nick Kyrgios, whose ranking may not warrant him to be in the Laver Cup, but his performance does. And that guy seems to, like a lot of guys in Davis Cup, they perhaps overachieve in the team environment, and maybe they don't year in, year out, 50 whatever weeks a year. What are some things that you do in your practice? And we're kind of transitioning into the second set a bit here. But in your practice, in mental coaching, what are some things that you do to help you recognize, okay, that is a bit of a team player, and let me bring some of that to his or her individual tennis? How do you do that? How do you navigate that, whether you're sensing it or communicating it or both?
I mean, you hear it. And mostly I'm working with juniors, and they get picked for zonals or regionals or whatever it is. And you feel the energy when you talk to them. It's like, or I love to play doubles. And when we do it on Zoom or, pre-COVID mostly, like in person when we have the chance, you do see a totally different body language. And they also describe that, right? That there are different pressures. There's less pressure because it's not just you. There's more pressure because it's not just you. But also the joy of competing on a team and being held by a team a lot of times. I have had players who said, I hate being on a team because even if I'm winning and everybody else loses, I'm losing. So you have both. But for the most part, a lot of tennis players really, really value the time in whatever team, whether it's high school or, Billie Jean King Cup or Davis Cup or college especially. Yeah. That's such a special time because most of the time, and especially when you're on tour, I mean, you play, as you said, you play 48 weeks out of the year. Yeah. It's just you. And all of a sudden you have people that actually, in an ideal case, all have the same goal. And it is pretty amazing to see your flag going up there and hearing your anthem. I mean, that's pretty cool. Goosebumpy. Goosebumpy, like you're up. It's deuce. You won the point, and it's Avantage Deutschland. Like you're hearing that. That's crazy. That's pretty special. Emotion. Yeah. Let's transition into that second set. But before we get to current and future projects, tell us about all these things you've done at Vanderbilt, at Tulane, at Duke University that have educated you to the point where you're not just an authority by background, but an authority by education in mental skills training. Yeah. So, I mean, education, period, was always really important to my parents and also important to me because that was always one of the things that I really didn't like on tour. Yeah. When you were... So I was caught apparently also oftentimes with a paper. Back then it was literally still paper. Reading the paper because I just didn't want to talk about tennis anymore or going shopping. Typical. Not really my thing. Yeah. So that was one way. But then also I just genuinely like learning. And it was really important for me because I had experienced that when I couldn't play. What else do you do? Of course, every, pro player can be a tennis pro then at some point, but I didn't necessarily think that's really what I wanted to do. So getting a degree was really important to me. And then when I did retire, I knew, because a lot of Europeans, a lot of my friends had actually played college here in the US. Mm-hmm. So and they said like, oh, you can be a grad assistant, although I was an undergrad, but there is that thing, you can be an assistant coach and still go to school. And that's what I ended up doing at Tulane. And I really intentionally picked really good academic schools. That was my number one. I didn't really care as much about the level of play, to be honest, but of course, Tulane ended up being really good. And then, my first 1 or 2 years at Tulane, I fell in love with coaching because I was able to really connect with the young women on the team, because they also did not experience a whole lot of female coaches. Like, most of my players had never been coached by a female. And then we were actually a season opener for Vanderbilt.
Uh-huh.
And, double header, the warmer-upper, because Vanderbilt had just been in the finals that year. And so I kind of watched their practice and then went to talk to Coach McDonald's and said, like, hey, I'm a young coach and, could I pick your brain on some stuff? And we had a fantastic, conversation. And when I told him that I had played, he goes like, you're not going to pick my brain. I'm going to pick your brain.
Yeah, the other way. Yeah.
So we stayed in touch. And then the next year, the opportunity opened up there. And that's when I, transferred literally as a student, but also then, of course, as a coach. And that's when I got my degree in human and organizational development from Vanderbilt, which does serve me every day. I do have to admit. It does. Because you learn a lot about, organizational psychology, if you will. When you coach teams or just individual people, it's, a lot of the same things. How do you get somebody to perform at their best, tapping into their skills, tapping into their strengths, mitigating their weaknesses a little bit. Same thing, whether you do that in an organizational setting or on the tennis court, very similar. And then I also went to Duke because I actually did talk to Jack Groppel. And I asked him, like, do you think I should go to grad school and get a degree in sports psychology? And he just, listened and said, like, you know what? You've done all this. Like, what you would learn sitting in a chair, you have done. So that is not anything that anybody can teach you, because there is no Martina Navratilova as your professor. There is no playing in front of 5,000 people and not having a clue what you're doing. Those things, or you won the tournament last year and now you have to defend it. Or, as you said earlier with the golfing, you're up, far ahead, and all of a sudden all these things come into your head. Don't go to school. You have this. Try to find a framework. And I did go to Dr. Lurs, to the Human Performance Institute, and then also to Duke, because they the professional training I got there is basically in behavior modification. And whether you do that in a health setting or you do that on the court, you're breaking habits, you're building new habits, you're building, reframing new thoughts, basically reframing thoughts. And that's the same whether, you have issues with, there's 15 donuts sitting there and you want to grab the next donut, or you want to throw your racket. It's a learned behavior in a way. And how can you replace that? So I think that served me really, really well. And I'm really happy that I did go that way. Yes, I cannot call myself sports psychologist. That's why I call myself, mental skills expert, whatever you want to call me, specialist. But that's my learning. And I continue learning and studying because it's just fun. I don't want to be stagnant. Well,
names like Jim Laird, Jack Groppel, and Martina Navratilova, these are tremendous professors you've had, and I know for a fact they are all very, very proud of the work you've done. Coming from a kid who's vulnerable, didn't know what she was doing, threw a few rackets, maybe had a donut here and there. Two or three. That's it.
Per month.
Yeah. 2 or 3 per month. So you've come such a long way, and we're intrigued by the progress. And you talked a little bit of before we do that, Craig, what are some questions from the crowd? I want you to relate a few as we go into current projects and then future projects.
One of our favorite listeners, Nick Smith.
Oh yeah, I love that guy.
How do you feel Navratilova Graf would play in today's game? How do you feel that they would do? And then I'll ask a follow-up after that.
Yeah, good.
I don't know if you've seen the videos, but Steffi is still involved, I think, with what's called the Adidas team.
Yeah.
Sort of. And the most recent videos, if you see them hitting with Angie Kerber or Andrea Petkovic, she would still be up there. Really? I mean, the footwork that she has, I mean, the athleticism that she has, would she be vulnerable maybe a little bit more because serves have gotten a lot bigger since I played on the backhand with that slice. But I think she'd still be up there. I think Martina would probably struggle a little bit more because hers was really just the whatever was yellow and flying, I'm coming in.
I'm going.
And just with the power that's there now, she would probably struggle a little bit more. But then she's also a teens older than Steffi. But I would never say that Steffi has no chance. I mean, that woman is, I've played her twice in doubles and got passed by backhand slices because they were so freaking fast. And I trained next to her a couple of times, and you're just going, okay, yep. Yeah. You're the goddess, period. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can say.
Last person to ever win the Golden Slam.
Actually, 1988, unforgettable, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough to do, and doesn't matter what era you do it in. That's some greatness right there, Steffi Graf. But, yeah, I didn't know she was involved with still in tennis. You don't see her much. I mean, that really, she keeps a pretty low profile. I mean, she's not on television, and we'll have to get her on At the Net podcast, maybe.
We do.
We have to get her. Maybe Meike can help us, No,
I don't have her on speed dial. I'm pretty sure she would remember who I am.
Okay, well, I know she was.
But I was not buddies with her because, she was on top of, Mount Olympus, and I was kind of more in the foothills.
In the foothills of it.
Yeah. What about Martina? You said Martina would have a little bit more, even at top 82, 83 when she got in great shape. I mean, she changed the game of tennis, I think, on the women's side and also on the men's side to some degree. Her and Yvonne Lendl, the two Czech players, really pushed athleticism and fitness training. And that's my era, and I just watched those two really. Martina, I wouldn't call. She had quite a few donuts probably back in the day.
In the 70s when she was defecting over here,
right.
She chose
that was comfort food.
She had donuts and broke some rackets, but then what a specimen!
Oh my goodness!
The nutrition and mental and obviously physical, like you mentioned.
Yeah, so she really kind of transformed her career. So do you think like that Martina would play well? Because that's the second follow-up question to Nick's question. Attacking game, attacking style, would that play well in today's game? So kind of a 1A, 1B question in the second part.
I mean, quite honestly, I mean, that's such a two-edged sword. So, I mean, women develop physically a lot quicker or a lot more earlier than guys, and they are so much more successful. And that was actually also when I came up the case already. So they're so much quicker successful with just with a backhand and a forehand. And now, of course, these days it's also like, women can serve, with 130 miles per hour. Whereas, in my day it was like, get the serving, get the point started. So I remember that at the end of my career, the returns had gotten way better. The serves had gotten way better. I mean, I started in 91, turned pro in 91, and then I retired in 2000. And all of a sudden you have the Williams sisters, you have Natasha Petrova, you have Safina, you have Kim Kleisters, and whereas taking the ball early, that started coming up a little bit, especially with hardcourt players. But, here's little Meike grown up on clay, 18 feet behind the baseline. And, big hitters, I had zero chance. And that really, and I said that before we started coming on live. I actually, at my very last tournament in Essen in Germany, one of our younger kids said, like, hey, this is Kim Kleisters. You know, they used to play like juniors together. She's really good. And so I watched Kim Kleisters, and I must have been one of her first pro tournaments. And I'm like, yep, it's time for me to retire, because I got nothing on that. Wow. I mean, it was so fast. It was so much harder. The athleticism has changed. A couple of years after I retired, I went to Frankfurt, where I used to train. I mean, I already lived here in the U.S., but went back home and just happened to catch Andrea Petkovic and Angie Kerber preparing for something there, because there is an academy now. And I watched them train. And I mean, what they did in the weight room was what we would do off season as max effort, was something that they did as maintaining in a regular tournament cycle. So it was, the physical development now. I mean, Maria Sakkari posts a lot of the physical workouts that she does.
She's crazy.
And I'm going, how?
Yeah.
So if I had to do this, cute. I mean, they would literally look back at what we did back then and go like, oh, that's cute.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. Cute.
Right. Yeah, we do that in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's an easy warm up. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Then also wanted to follow up with a question. So I was watching the golf event today, and on number 18, the gentleman that was leading actually just blew a shot and ended up, all he needed to do was par, make par. It was 4, and it was a tough hole. I mean, he's playing the PGA championships, and there's a lot of prestige and money on the line, and people are watching on television and also in the stands there. What do you tell somebody who, steps up on number 18? Should they go for it? Should they not go for it? Do they play it safe? From a mental standpoint, you're a mental skills coach, and you're talking to this kid Pereira and go, okay, I think it's Mato or Nato. How do you advise? If you're sitting on the bag with him and going, hey, no driver, let's just play to win this thing, or do you say go for it, man, because you're feeling it?
The thing, and that's I don't know anything about golf, but I would look back to how did you get into the lead, because that is the the equivalent in tennis. Like, how did you get up to 5-2, 5-3? Did you, I don't know, wait for a shorter ball and structure the point more? Did you attack a certain side more? Whatever. I would certainly not say like, oh yeah, just now go for it, because most likely you didn't get up to 5-2, 5-3 playing serve and volley or drop shotting totally randomly. Or, if you remember the 2019 U.S. Open, Bianca Andreescu, when she was up and lost the lead in about 5 seconds. And at world class, it's that much depth that is lacking. But she got up to the lead being super aggressive and going for smaller margins. And all of a sudden it looked like she was just hoping, Serena would miss. And at that level, you can't do that. But she also didn't go for it, right? But she certainly did change the game style a little bit. And I think that's what I would tell the person: try to emulate whatever you did to get up to the lead, because very clearly, it's working.
So also follow up. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this also too. Coaching. Do you think coaching should be allowed during changeovers? Because every other sport does that. So you could actually, like, I know you played Fed Cup, and so was it helpful to have somebody over there going, okay, Micah, here you're doing fine. Because you could calm somebody down.
Absolutely. And that's pretty much all I needed, to be honest. I mean, I didn't need somebody to. Reinforce some strategical tips, but mostly calm down so that you're actually able to read the relevant cues. Because, if you're going 180 in your head and you're going beep, 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 beep and cracking rackets and stuff, then of course you're not following a very smart tactical pathway. But I don't think there should be coaching, because that would be a huge advantage for the better players, because they are able to have better coaches just because they can pay more money. If you go down the rankings, I mean, you'll see coaches, but you don't see coaches with the experience of a Patrick Mouratoglou or Darren Cahill or, whoever it is these days. I mean, there are still players traveling with a hitting partner, but that's all they have. Right. So I think, I don't think it would level the playing field. I think it would make it even more uneven.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, did you ever feel like? So let me follow up, since we do have a few listeners right now, but you don't have to give away the total secret on this. Were there ever signs out there? Were you playing against players who had some people in the stands that might be going, hit it to the forehand, hit it to the backhand?
It wasn't that hidden. It was forehand, forehand.
Really? It's like Micah, forehand. It's like that.
And some of my, one of the worst experiences I ever had was when literally my coach was yelling from the stands, but I was so dense that I didn't see it, was playing Mary Pierce at the 1998 US Open. We had actually gotten into a third set, and that was by attacking her forehand more than her backhand, because her backhand was clearly her better shot. And I twisted, and we had a timeout, medical timeout. Nothing happened, but it interrupted everything. And I went back to going to her backhand, which was obviously not how I won the second set. And my coach was literally in the stands, forehand. And I, for whatever reason, I'm sure he did this, and did a cartwheel and held a sign up. I don't know what the heck he did.
Signals.
But
I was too wrapped up in whatever I was wrapped up. It's hey, I have a shot at winning against I don't know, I think she was 4 in the world at the time. There is and was very open coaching.
Well, you're being coached against with our buddy Craig Carden probably about that time against Mary Pierce.
That's right.
He was our first guest on the show. Craig's a local coach here and also a world-famous coach. So I know he coached Mary about that time, I think. So, like when you said, really high-level coaches, I mean, Craig's really an interesting guy. He's a really fine coach, and I know he's out there right now. I think Christina McHale, isn't he? Isn't he doing
Sounds right.
I think Christina at the French Open. But, when you said Mary Pierce, I was like, about 98. Yeah, it's probably Craig Carden right there. He probably
could be him. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Do you know Craig? Have you ever met him?
I'm sure in passing I said hi, and he worked with Martina, didn't he?
Yes,
he sure did for years. Yeah.
Yep. So he's
So, but again, Mount Olympus, foothills.
So
different tour almost.
Right. Yeah. Well, good answer about coaching. I just had a curiosity. I'd never played at that level, and I figured that you hear people talking about stuff, and I know that on the women's tour you can get one visit, I believe, a set. Is that correct in WTA still at this time? Or?
I'm not sure if on that one, actually, to be honest, you probably know better. I think they had that for a while, but then it stopped. And sometimes when I was, I'm watching a lot more tennis now, and Ash Barty, why? I can totally understand. But when she started coming up again, I really started watching again because I love her game.
Love it.
But when I watched it, sometimes I wasn't sure if it was helpful, because you could see it in the body language. Especially when, you sit there and the coach gets like this close into your face and leans over you and bombards you with like 90 seconds worth of stuff, and you see the person pulling back, then I'm going, not so sure if it wouldn't have been better to just sit there, here's the water bottle, take a couple of deep breaths. What do you think?
Micah, to your point, Craig has, I'm going to ask him, what is the funniest moment in coaching history that's televised?
Oh, yeah.
Give me your favorite one, buddy.
That's Dmitry Tursunov going down to talk with Arina Sabalenka and said not one word. Quiet. All 60 seconds, she was just sitting there looking at her, and she was just...
Yep.
And then they were dead laughing on Tennis Channel. This couple of years ago, they were going, okay, is he going to say anything? And then is she going to say anything? And then time's up, time. And then he just walks off. And they just died laughing. I don't know who was commentating, but they were just sitting there going, wow, whatever that was interesting.
That was effective.
Telepathic coaching, that's the latest thing.
Right.
I think that we're just way ahead of that time.
Okay, it's ESP, extrasensory perception.
No.
Telepathically, we're talking, so. That was funny, and I'm sure you probably saw it, or at least seen the clip of it.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. I think I read about that, but there were other instances where I really think, dude, and mostly it's dudes.
It is, yeah, usually, yeah.
I think, now is a fantastic time to just be quiet.
Yeah.
And that's, you have to know that as a coach. And there was I think that was with the WTCA when Sandra Zaniewska was out on court with Petra Martic when she was still coaching her. They had a fantastic exchange, and it was really about, what do you feel right now? What is going on with you right now? Because it's so different from what we see on the outside with what's going on with the player. And I thought that was really, really insightful from Sandra to just ask the questions that she asked. And by result, it paid off. So I thought that was really cool.
You made a offhanded comment that I think meant something. You said, it's dude, and you said it's quite a few dudes. How are there not as many women yet? And I realize things are shifting, which is a good thing. But how is that possible? And you're such an advocate for women's tennis in general, LGBTQ in general. That's how we kind of got to know each other on a USPTA Zoom. Tell us about some of your efforts and maybe some of the ways to dispel some of these biases.
So the first thing, and I do get that.
You do.
I mean, if you're in a on a lower level and you don't have as much money to travel with a hitting partner, it would be, you would need a Steffi Graf right now to be able to hit with you at the level that you see every day. So that's, of course, why, many, former players, male players go into coaching, because the sentiment is, I can always hit with you.
I see.
And that is very true.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, if I were to, 2014, I went to Vanderbilt and we did some mental skills work, and Astra Sharma, who is now, at world level.
Australian.
And Fernanda Contreras, which is freaking awesome.
She's another one-hander, isn't she? University, I think lives in Austin. We've been there for one of her tournaments, yeah.
Yep, and she just qualified. So there's two Vandy players, and I asked to hit a couple of balls with them, and Astra was hitting first serves, and I was like, oh, that's cute on my part.
Yeah.
Because I could volley with them.
Yeah.
But I couldn't play points with them anymore because they're just too good. So I can give them my knowledge of everything else, but the day-to-day work in hitting, that's really difficult to do at the level. So that's the first thing, really. I think a lot of women are choosing, families, and it's still, of course, more okay for a guy to bring his wife and the kids rather than, somebody like Tatiana Maria, or of course Serena, or, Victoria Azarenka, who have kids and then come back. We don't really do a great job. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm in the D&I committee on the USPTA, also the USTA, in attracting women as coaches, because we get put into the Pee-wee programs.
Yeah.
We get put with the beginner adults, and it takes somebody like me to be top 30 to actually get to the high performance male clinics. Whereas any other D1 female coach could work with them, but a lot of club owners see that as the bias. Oh, they can't coach men. And of course I can coach men. I may not be able to hit with them anymore, but I still know the game, of course. So that's, somebody with my background has a much easier time to convince people. But I've had guys tell me in the face, I can't learn anything from a woman.
Really?
And I'm like, okay, sure.
That's interesting.
Speaking of the male-female dynamic, we've got a great question in from Nick Smith about what your feeling is about women playing 3 out of 5. And my two favorites, Steffi and Martina, played each other in a 3 out of 5 once. So let that frame your answer.
I don't know. I would be hesitant. I mean, me at that time, heck no.
No thanks. Huh?
I mean, no way. I'm physically not trained to do that. And now for the, women still have to play so much catch up because we did not have the opportunities over generations to be trained in the way that males have had the opportunities for gazillion years. Tennis, I think, is the fastest sport to catch up because, we had that exposure, right? I mean, look at TV coverage. I mean, I do remember there was women's tennis on TV in Germany in the 80s. But now look at when did women's soccer, women's volleyball, women's whatever come on, maybe in the last 5-6 years. So the investment, the investment in women's sport is still, I think, so far behind that now for the last 20 years, women have trained to play 2 out of 3. I think it would, to my mind, I don't necessarily think it would be the smartest. It would still take another 10, 15 years until women have been trained. We have adapted to that kind of thing. But for sure, I mean, look at the women that could play now. They could probably do it. Would that help the longevity of their careers in terms of injuries? Not sure.
I think Maria the Sack Attack would get through it, but
she probably danced through them and whatever she would do. But I think that would still need a little bit more time. And I'm not opposed to it. I don't ever say women are physically not able to do it, but it's like, okay, let's go step by step here. Don't throw women yet again into something just because men say that's what they should do.
Yeah, there was a great match today. FAA came back from 2 sets down.
That's right. He lost 2 and 2.
Yeah,
and then he won 3 in a row. Yeah,
I know. I was like, wow. It's interesting because he would 2 out of 3 set match. He was out. He was out the first round. There were a couple upsets, and then we'll talk about the French Open here in a second.
Of course.
But I thought, wow, that's really interesting because I was looking at the matches today, and he was the only one to ever come back. There were many 5-set matches, but first 2 sets, he looked like he was just whipped, and then all of a sudden got his game together. Or what? Uncle Tony must have been saying something. Rafa. Maybe Rafa might. What would Uncle Tony say, Rafa?
Well, Craig Bell, thank you so much for asking. No, I'm gonna work hard with Felix, with Tio Tony. No, we're gonna make a good tournament. No, 2 weeks we have. It's not just 2 sets.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So sorry, Micah. We digress there. So.
No, I'm like.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good at it.
Hello, Tony.
Yeah, Uncle Tony. I saw, I forgot that Uncle Tony is working with FAA.
That's right.
Yeah, and I saw him. He was really into it. I think if you all were watching, Uncle Tony, he was up.
He was in there.
He was doing the vamos. I saw
overtly cheering his boy on. I love it.
No kidding. Yeah, I was like, whoo, down 2 sets, and you look like you're down on the count. You're on the canvas, and they're counting 5, the old official. But FAA came back, and you could see he was really into it in the 5th set.
That was awesome. I love that fight at the end. That was brilliant. How much he showed, how much heart. Yeah.
That's why I like the men's game, from that standpoint where they go 5 sets. The women, I could take it either way because they have some really great matches as well. I mean, there's some really fun stuff that we'll talk about on the French Open side here in a couple of minutes. But the women, they fight, and they get into it just as much as the guys do.
For sure. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, just look at the Strasbourg final.
Oh, yes.
7-6, 6-7, 7-6.
Yes.
And that was one of your compadres, Angelique Kerber. How about the reaching lefty crazy angle she made?
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was something Rafa does, all the highlights. And I was so happy to see that Angie with that red Yonex that I guess neither of us uses that red one, but you could feel that there was a little bit of graphite and strings making that sick angle.
A mixture.
It was a nice blend. That was awesome. Yep. Hey, let's before we talk third set and French Open, current and future projects. What are you doing currently, and how? Maybe you can take us through the Zooming, because you've got clients not just in your neighborhood. You've got clients all over the world, and maybe you could also throw in a plug for how people can get a hold of you. Because you're clearly brilliant, and you're going to benefit a lot of our listeners.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do work with athletes of all sports, but predominantly, of course, tennis players. And Zoom is fantastic.
Right.
And I've done that before, the pandemic, but now really, I think everybody else has really become way more comfortable with it. And has also seen that, it's as long as I can see your body language, as long as I can hear, change in voice and all that kind of stuff, this is very valuable. So you can go to my website, MikeBabel.com. So the mental skills part is one thing that I definitely do want to develop a little bit more. I've started also in the pandemic on the urging of some of my clients, a YouTube channel.
Smart.
And because they said like, hey, you do actually know so much. And I don't think that there is any female that does that. There are a couple former players but they're more on Instagram. So they're more on the short format. I'm also on Instagram. So
yes.
Look under my name.
Yeah.
But that's been really super fun and really, really, I want to say gratifying, because I get really great feedback, that it's nice to have the perspective of a female and also of a former player. So that's definitely something that I want to develop a lot more. And that's it. I mean, at some point I have to look a little bit into other venues, because one does not get younger. One cannot be on court 45 hours a week anymore.
You are still fit. You're nowhere near 50. You're looking strong. I'm not worried about you.
It's getting there. I mean, I can, but I do have days when I'm coming home to my cat and I can't, talk to my cat anymore because I'm hoarse. And, the cat just looks at me and goes, you need to chill out. The cat is always right.
Yeah, the cat knows. I know you mentioned the cat is a part of the family. I'm looking forward to a cameo from the cat at some point this evening. Not yet. Yeah,
he's out there somewhere.
He's over there, yeah. Well, if you'd like, CB, should we go to a French Open segment or a little Roland Garros, and then we go third set? What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I was sitting here trying to do some stuff over on Yonex.
Good.
So I was
that's right.
posting some stuff in there, because since she with Yonex, then I thought I would post something in there, try to see if we can get some of our fellow Yonex folks into the conversation as well. But let's talk a little French Open. Let me get back over here to. I was looking actually at some of the matches today. Garbiñe unfortunately bit the dust.
Muguruza with a couple upsets.
Kaya Kanepi.
You mentioned a couple of great German names like Andrea Petkovic, who's still in the draw. Kerber seeded number 21. I think you mentioned Bibi Andreescu also. I always admire her game. Tell us who some of your favorites are, not necessarily your predictions and picks, because that's always interesting too from a former player, but give us the emotional side. Like, who are you backing in here?
I mean, I always want the Germans to do well.
Of course,
because the funny thing is, Andrea Petkovic, and she probably wouldn't remember who I am because she she grew up in the same area in Germany. We trained at the same facility. So that's always incredible to hear. And I'm still connected with people in Germany, and they as she was growing up and getting better, and you hear her story and her journey. It's Iga Swiatek all the way. I don't see anybody, unless she's kind of having some kind of weird mental, I don't want to call it a breakdown, but just the thing gets too big for her, because everybody thinks she's dominating so much. I mean, I'm still kind of sort of crying every now and then when I think that Ash Barty retired, because I think she's just a phenomenal person. On the women's side, I don't necessarily have as much heart in it, I want to say. I mean, Iga Swiatek would be fine. Yeah. I had hoped that Ons Jabeur is doing a little better, but she's already out. Because the drop shot queen is just phenomenal. Yeah, I would like to see Leila Fernandez do really well because I think, and Emma Raducanu, because I'm sick and tired of them being called one-hit wonders.
Yeah.
Because people don't understand the natural development of what a win like that does to somebody as young. Not that I would know because I never won a Grand Slam, but I can sort of think my way through it a little bit. But on the men's side, I would love to see Rafa win it one more time.
Oh, that was Craig's.
Because he's every time in German, you say every time somebody says something, it has hand and feet. It's substantial. It makes sense. It's coming from the heart. A lot of time it's very passionate and compassionate. And he's just a class act. So I think that's really why I would love for him to do it one more time.
Love it. That was actually Craig's pick on our Wednesday night show when we.
Until proven otherwise, El Toro gets my vote, and I know he has a foot injury, but and Alcaraz is.
It's Paris.
Yeah, it's Paris.
It's a whole different game.
Nothing matters. It's red dirt in Paris. The guy literally can play with crutches.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd still be a contender.
No, I agree 1,000% on that because I just don't. 13 in a row, and
he had a couple losses, but 13 total.
13 total. I know, but he's in a row.
I had to sneak because in 2009 Roger did grab one.
Yeah.
And Novak a couple of
Novak
too.
twice. Yeah.
And
Stan, 2015.
Right.
That's one of my favorites there, Stanley.
He's got a lot, though. Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that.
Yeah, that's so long. It seems like a lifetime ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I love Roger. Roger's my favorite, but he hasn't beaten El Toro at Paris. That's
on hard courts, sure, but not like Micah said. It's Paris, the red clay. Yeah. Even when Rafa gets tan, his skin resembles the clay. Like he's so perfect for that place,
And I think, I don't know, social media now, of course, is everywhere. And there's, people post like from the stands when he's practicing and center court is full.
Yeah, it's
packed.
It's 12,000 people.
He comes out on the court and the crowd starts chanting Rafa. Yeah. And I think that's also something that's just, can you imagine that? You're going out to hit tennis balls to practice.
Yeah.
And people are like, there's however many that stadium seats. It's full. It's packed.
15,000 people watching you practice hit a couple of balls. Isn't that amazing? So, another question: do you think Serena will come back?
I would love for her to do it.
Oh yeah,
because I think she's just such an incredible leader. I mean, it's just what the woman Serena Williams has done for women. That's why I want her back. I honestly, I'm not quite caught up on, is she injured or is she starting to kind of veer off in other, but I think it's an injury still. But I'm seeing a lot of other things that she's doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love for her to come back because she's, as Rafa, you can't ever count her out.
Yeah, she's happy on commercials a lot. She's all over the place.
She looks pretty fit on the Ubrelvy commercial. I know she's making some checks, endorsing all.
Or whatever it was.
That's the other.
Yeah, for the Super Bowl or something. But I think the last pictures I saw was when she went to LA to the first game of that team that she just helped found. I think Los Angeles Angel City or something. Which I thought is super cool. Just, a bunch of women getting together and saying like, okay, we can do that.
Yeah,
of course we can.
So cool.
So cool. Yeah, I would love for her to come back.
Yeah.
So who are you picking? Did you say for the French, for the women? Did you say?
For the women, it's Iga Swiatek.
Iga. Yeah. Sorry, I was over pushing a few buttons there. I thought I heard that, but so who do you think she's playing in the finals? You think that, does it matter?
I haven't looked as closely at the draw, but I don't see Krejcikova making it through because she just hasn't played enough.
Yeah.
With her, I think it's elbow, something. I would love to see Paula Badosa because I think she's awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if they're in the same half of the draw.
Well, I know Angelique Kerber is at the bottom half and Iga is on the top half, so maybe that's one of the possibilities. That would be a good one.
Although I find it always a little. When you win the tournament before, I think it's really, really hard to follow that up and then do really, like Ons Jabeur, for example. She did so well everywhere else, and then the expectations are so high. And it is a very short time that she has to make that transition. Yes, Strasbourg is an hour from Paris.
Yeah, it's close.
So probably best case scenario, but it's still two different worlds, like, one smaller tournament and then Grand Slam, and then having to carry over that performance over 2 weeks. But yeah, that would be cool. She's never out either.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's where I miss Ash Barty. That would be a great matchup, Barty versus Iga. Ash and Iga. Boy, that would be just a
the variety of Ash.
I would have loved to see that as
right now.
the duel. But then Ash was out.
Do you think she?
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Do you think she got tired just traveling the world? I mean, at COVID the last couple of years, I know she was out for like 8 or 9 months and couldn't get back home after, for various reasons. Do you think she just got tired mentally and just said, that's out. That's enough?
I think exactly what she said is absolutely true. I mean, and the thing is, I think again, people don't understand. It's like, it's one thing to be a tennis pro, but it's yet another to be a tennis pro from Australia.
Yeah, that's the travel.
So compare me with that. I was in Frankfurt. And, you have the European season, you have, Paris, you have Wimbledon. So you play for 2-3 months, and I could always go home.
Yeah.
But Australians, basically, they have 4 weeks in the summer, their summer there. And then they don't go home. They literally travel 11 months out of the year, never going back home. And when you're as good as Ash Barty, you do that when you're 11, 12 years old, because she won Wimbledon, junior Wimbledon, I think, when she was 15.
Yeah.
So you are already traveling full time. And when you're from Australia, you never go home. And if I understand that correctly, she is really, really very strongly connected to her family. And I totally get it.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm just like, Ash, why?
What a fantastic Roland Garros final that could have been. Is Iga, of course, Krejcikova won the last one. Ash won the one before that Iga won. So that trio getting together would have been magical. Even though Krejcikova has a little injury or is coming in with fewer matches. But Ash versus Iga, maybe it happens one day. Or maybe Ash chooses to dominate golf one day or something else.
She can do underwater basket weaving, including in chess or whatever. She can do whatever she wants. She's great.
She's the best. Yeah.
I mean, she's just a phenomenal athlete. I mean, I know nothing about cricket, but going from playing tennis to half professional in another sport within a year, you're a pretty darn good athlete. What
an athlete and what a mind on that young woman. Yeah, amazing lady.
So as we were talking, something sparked my interest in, especially from a mental standpoint. Is it, and you've been on the tour for a number of years, is it mentally tougher or is it physically tougher? Which of the two is tougher to come through, the physical side of it? Because there's obviously injuries involved, but at the same time, is it more mental once you get to that level?
I think a lot of it has changed, to be honest, because yes, we do have higher prize money now. And I think you can afford to travel with a better team that also includes not just a coach, right? It can be, Iga Swiatek travels with a sports psychologist, which I think is phenomenal because it just destigmatizes that whole thing. So I think if you're able to, assemble a really good team that also gets you as a person, and you're not just a cash cow, then I think it becomes mentally a lot easier. But it is absolutely a strain to be away from home, from family, from friends, from school, from whatever it was that you did before.
Yeah.
Physically, that was too much for me. That was really the reason why I had to stop, because I was injured all the time. It can be grueling both ways. I almost want to say mentally a little bit more, which then also, of course, affects your body, because it is such a weird lifestyle. It's such a weird life.
The travel, the individual nature of the sport. Yeah. Mike, I want to follow up on that very nuanced answer you gave to a tough question. the mental side used to be focused on words like burnout, words like mental fatigue or mental frailty or fragility. We're hearing words like depression and anxiety more now than we did in the 90s and early 2000s. Tell us a little bit about how, first of all, how that's impacting your practice and the players you work with, and how you have chosen to deal with that and help them through those struggles.
Well, the number one is I am treated for depression and anxiety, only that back in my day, the knowledge about it wasn't as big. So anxiety and depression have been in high level sports, in any sport, at the highest level always. So that's a given. It's just, it could not be necessarily diagnosed as much. And I didn't know that. I mean, I know when I played, I had days when I couldn't get out of bed.
Wow.
I got out of bed because, okay, that's what suck it up.
Yeah.
That's what, that's what you tell yourself at some point too, because that's what you have to do. It's your job. I think since Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles and, Michael Phelps and other athletes have started to talk about, I think also the knowledge has become a lot more widespread that, you can't snap out of that. I was only diagnosed then after my career, and only also because somebody really smart, really compassionate said, hey, Meike, I noticed that some of your behaviors have changed. I noticed that this, that, and the other. And would you be open to talking to somebody about it? And then in retrospect, you get diagnosed with it. You learn that basically you've had depression pretty much your entire adult life, which for me started pretty early at 15, 16 when I turned pro. You go like, holy, I know I can't swear, I think.
Yeah. You can say Scheiße if you say in German. That's good.
Scheiße nochmal. It would have been great had I, had gotten the help that I get now.
Yeah.
And because I know that, I know the signs, and not all of them, but I have lived through them. Of course, when now, you talk to people, I have a much clearer knowledge, and I listen very, very carefully. And thankfully, the WTA is doing a much, much better job. I think the ATP, I would assume as well, with having counselors available, with having screenings, with working with players, with acknowledging it. Because, when I played, it was, it was called mental toughness, and the opposite is mental weakness.
Yeah.
And of course, you're not admitting that. And it's, if you read the statistics in every sport, it's there. More people are seeking help. I think we still have a ton of work to do with that. But what I try to, when somebody has, issues with depression or anxiety, what I try to tell them is just, I'm the first step. I can tell you it's normal. This can happen, but you need to get professional help. Because I'm not trained to do that. I can get you the help. I can work with you to find what you need. But, that's just one part of being human. And I think we live in really scheiße times. That there are many reasons for depression and anxiety. So, as I said, the life of a professional athlete is really weird. And, take all the help that you can get.
So from a wiser, more, I shouldn't say older,
but experienced.
But experienced,
sure,
experienced Meike Babel.
Chronologically advanced perspective.
There you go. Okay. What do you tell a younger Meike Babel when she's now, maybe 20, 30 years later? You've obviously had the experience now. What would you do a few things differently, as far as...
I would do so many things differently.
You would, huh?
Tell us a couple.
I would do so many things differently.
Yeah, give us a couple nuggets.
Please. Yeah, please. I'm interested.
I would have told myself, chill the out.
Yeah.
It's tennis. It's you're not going to die. I love when Carlos Alcaraz, after he lost fairly early in whatever tournament after Miami, he says, like, You know what? I didn't die today.
Yeah, that was
another match.
Yeah.
That was Monte Carlo, and he lost to Sebastian Korda. It was no shame losing to a guy who played this much better on the day. Yeah, I loved his perspective and his resilience.
Yeah, I think I would have gotten a lot quicker into I'm working with a sports psychologist, meditation, mindfulness. Trying to find other, and I did try to do that really, to find other interests so that, your whole identity doesn't get wrapped up in tennis. When you lose, you're a bad person. When you win, you're a great person, which has zero to do with each other. But that's how kind of screwed up our thinking is sometimes. I definitely would have worked differently physically and sought out, I think, when I thought I worked hard, there could have been probably more things that I could have done preventative to prevent injury. But I think definitely, working with a sports psychologist right from the get-go, number one. I think, and that is one of the reasons actually why I chose to become a mental skills person, because I know how much I stood in my own way in a lot of ways. And how unprepared I was to go on tour and to do what I did. And I was very fortunate that I got as far as I did with as few tools as I had in the beginning. So that's something I think, just to give somebody a better start to set themselves up for more success, I think is why I really chose to be a mental skills coach.
So follow up to this, because we're in an individual sport, and there's team sports obviously are big in the United States. Football, for instance, and where I'm going with this is we had a local quarterback that played for the Dallas Cowboys, which is like the team of the world.
Even I know that.
You know this,
and I know nothing about American football.
One of the quarterbacks went to Cabo over a break, and the fans lit him up because they were in the playoffs. And they said, you aren't into it enough, and you shouldn't be taking a break. They had a bye week, I believe, was the situation before the playoffs started for the Cowboys. And so that's why I'm trying to – it's kind of an interesting question, because do you think the fans are too much wrapped up in – your success also too, because I was looking at your record, which was great. You're top 20, top 30 in the world, 27, and you barely hit over 500. I think your career record looked like it was 132 and 113. So,
I lost more than I won. Yeah.
Wait. Well, actually
or barely more than I.
Right.
But if you count Bundesliga, you won even more. But,
right.
But Bundesliga's not on the.
That's right.
On the run.
Not officially.
I know.
Right.
Sorry.
That is when I actually beat some top 10 players that were in the top 10.
Right.
There's the team dynamic, but
thank you for mentioning that.
Of course, dear. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, that's where the pressure, I think, comes in also too. Here you are, top 30 in the world, and you barely hit over 500.
Yeah.
In a tough sport. And then, is it tougher, do you think, from a individual standpoint, or maybe is the team standpoint, is it different from a mental standpoint? Because I think it may be tougher from a tennis standpoint for what you're going through than maybe somebody that's quarterback for the Cowboys, who we won't mention the name, but most of our listeners will probably know who that is.
Yeah.
And but
let's put it this way. I think as much as I understand about American football, and I could totally mess this up, but it is. Being the quarterback is such an exposed position. When they say like a team can win or fall with the performance of a quarterback, and I think you see that every now and then, right? You get somebody traded, and all of a sudden a team that wasn't that great is now really good.
Yep.
If I understand that correct. I think that's maybe a special situation there, because it's just such, a really important position. I like in team aspects, I always love that you can protect your ego a lot better. You can get subbed out, and that doesn't feel great, but your team can potentially still win even if you suck. So that kind of helps you save face a little bit and save ego a little bit. In tennis, it's all you. You're under the microscope. If you win, it's because of you. If you lose, it's because of you. And there's nobody else to blame out there. And then, if you could, blame stuff on the team. And I'm sure that's true sometimes, that somebody, messes it up for you with terrible performance, whatever it is. But yeah, tennis is so weird, especially also with our scoring system and, the way that the rankings work, with the pressure building up to having to defend points. And especially if you have one peak, result, and then you have basically the first half of that year to still, bask in it. But then the next 3-4 months leading up to that, when you have to defend it is when you start to panic. It's just a really weird sport. I always liked playing team a lot better because it felt like, there's so many more shoulders to spread all that crap on.
Well, anything that goes wrong on the podcast, I always blame AJ.
Yeah,
so
always.
That's easy. So it's a team. So that's why I didn't want to blame it on myself. It's his fault. So
Nor should you.
Well, because that's a great answer. I think because one of our people watching suggested Bayern Munich. I mean, soccer, same thing. I mean, that's a huge sport over in Germany. I think people live and breathe and die, German football as much as we do probably American football over in this country.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so there's probably those who have struggled maybe over and didn't, maybe they went on vacation over to, Paris, and then all of a sudden, people are like, hey, come on, what are you doing? You need to be home practicing kicking, goals or whatever. Focus. Like you're not focused enough. So that's.
Yeah, I think, wasn't it Winston Churchill who said, if you're not in the arena with me, then I don't care what you say? Something like along the lines.
Something like that. Yeah, you're correct.
So that's. Again, if you're not doing what I do, it's a fantastic opportunity for you to be quiet and sit down because you don't know what it's like to do what a professional athlete does. The strains, the pressures, the whatever it is. And I'm just sometimes really devastated when I'm reading what they have to put up with through social media. So that was, when we talked about earlier, it's like about the money. I didn't make as much money because tennis wasn't as big, but the benefit was, social media also wasn't out there. So that's one way how a lot, of the players make a lot of money because they have that exposure. But you're also then, as the player, you're exposed to, and I can't call them anything other than idiots who bet on you. And then there's legitimate death threats.
Yeah, the cyberbullying, and they take it to this level where they're threatening physical harm.
Well, you had Marketa Vondrousova when she lost against Emma Raducanu, literally having to call the cops on somebody in wherever she lives in the Czech Republic.
Sick.
And you're going, and your whole life is now so exposed. So, if that player, if he had to go somewhere and just take a couple of days off, I mean, that's, and it can totally backfire, right? But who knows what he was doing. Maybe he was traveling with a trainer, and worked out 8 hours a day and just was dumb enough to post pictures from the beach, or somebody saw him. I don't know, you tell me if that's, but you can't do it right anymore. And even if you do it right, you're doing it wrong. So for that, it's painful to hear some of the stuff that the players get thrown at.
Do you think it's better if the players don't run their social media accounts, would hire somebody and then just, filter out all that nonsense, because good and bad. Because sometimes you can think, hey, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, like AJ does. I have to calm him down a little bit. But
how many likes are we getting today after this?
We don't care. This is about the content, not the likes.
Right.
I would say the second you have enough money to hire a PR person, get off freaking social media.
Smart.
Yeah.
I would, the second, and because it's just not going to do any, because humans are not built to be you can't get as high of a high as you can be brought down by people that are either jealous or unhappy with their lives or why ever they would choose to do what they do when they put that stuff on social media. So I would say go and get an intern, do something.
Yeah,
because you have to be, by contract, they have to be on social media.
Oh, really?
Right? And especially lower ranked players, they have to get sponsors, whether it's, clothes or rackets or whatever. And it's like, well, if you have less than 10,000 followers, you're not.
Yeah, we don't need you. Yeah.
So, let me ask one more.
You have to be out there.
Well, one more follow-up question on that thought then. Did the WTA take you all as rookies and put you in a room and say, okay, hey, Micah, hey, whomever, here's what's going on? And did they give you some instruction, some guidance, some training, what to do, what not to do? Was there that type of work done, early on?
It was really rudimentary, let's put it this way, just because you didn't have that exposure. But I remember we did have rookie hours. However, as a 17, 18-year-old, I was just wondering what the hell I'm sitting there when I should be on the court or something. So I didn't really realize the magnitude of it. But I know that they have that now. Okay. They definitely do that. They do it much, much more thoroughly. And I think they're doing a great job. So the reason why I'm saying that, and I know it, of course, from players, and I'm friends with a tournament director in Germany. When they post, it wasn't today. I didn't get the result that I wanted to. That's what everybody says. So that's one of the phrases that they're being told. Okay, if you lost, instead of saying like, oh, she cheated and she's an idiot, or he is an idiot and whatever, I totally sucked today and whatever goes on in your head, you say like, well, it wasn't the result that I was hoping for. Stronger back next week. That's just one of the things. So no, they're trying to really take care of their players. It's just, you have a really hard time getting away from it. And I mean, there are players very, very verbal about it. I mean, Madison Keys, for instance, Elise Mertens at some point a couple of months ago when she lost, took a screenshot of some of the things that people said. And it is mostly people that bet on stuff. Yeah, and it's like, why would you bet on a human being? Or on a horse or a dog? I don't get it.
Yeah, that's
what you have, yeah.
Yeah, I just had never... I'd always wonder. I know they do in professional team sports have those kind of classes, and I didn't know if they
have them too now. Yeah,
WTA. Yeah, because I mean, hey, there's a lot going on, and I'm sure you're getting pulled, probably 5 or 6 different directions, not only from your parents, if you have an agent, if you have a coach, if you have this, that, or the other, fans, family, hey, Micah, you remember me? I'm your second cousin removed. You got $5,000 that I might be able to borrow for, because I can't.
Thank goodness I didn't have that because, again, not social media. You didn't see me going in first class, flights to Australia or sitting somewhere on the, Bahamas or something. So but that's definitely out there.
I thought you rode the G7. I thought, just did your own, we're going to leave at 10:47 from the airport. So, that's great. Didn't have to go No, you didn't do that, huh?
Nope, not quite.
No, you're back in the back with coach with me. That's
normal people like us.
I saw one of the Bryan brothers actually in Australia. I was down at the Australian Open a couple of years ago, and I don't know if it's Mike or Bob, and I get them mixed up.
Who knows? Twins.
Yeah. Right, and he had his family with him, and I was just standing there in line. I saw him, and it was a couple of days afterwards, and the tournament, and I think they had a little family vacation. Yeah. Guess where he was sitting? He was back in coach. I was like,
with the kids, with the family.
I was like, wow, man,
that's rarer for somebody of that status.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I thought, man, he'd be up in business class or first class, but no, he was back there schlepping it back there in the back of the plane with Craig Bell and John Ingram III. So we were. I was thoroughly impressed, and but that's I just had wondered that question as we were talking, and. There's just a lot of mental stuff going on. And like I said, with you being a great mental skills coach and taking that time and that energy and that effort, that's, they ought to hire Micah. I would think that you would be great because,
definitely.
As a former player, you know what the grind's like. And then as a person who's gone through that experience, and then to be able to give something back, and then also from a mental standpoint, kind of how to work the thought process as well. I mean, that's
They actually have a lot of former players involved with all of that. So yeah, they get that input, and they absolutely have recognized that is instrumental for the longevity of the career of a person, because that is definitely one of the things that a lot of us struggle with.
Yeah, we'll definitely
even now. Now more so,
more than ever.
Because everybody has access to all of your crap, basically.
Yeah. Well, we'll tag Steve Simon on this broadcast, and he'll probably reach out to you, Micah.
Sure.
That's what we want. Yeah. Well, Craig Bell, what do you think? Third set brought to you by Master Systems Courts.
Yes. Yeah. We're ready to go with the great Blair Descaret, Master Systems. If you're looking for any type of surface work, building, new type of equipment, anything that might be associated with a tennis court, basketball court, pickleball court, anything that has to do with court, look up our buddy Blair Descaret on mastersystems.com, mastersystemscourts.com.
That's right.
That's what it is.
Indoors as well as outdoors, and he did such a fantastic job with these courts and the ones right across.
Fantastic.
They're the best. Even the lighting is amazing.
No, he did the courts behind us. So we're standing at my club here in the Dallas area at Bent Tree. Fortunately, there's nobody here, so we're doing it when there's nobody around. Yeah, so
Sunday night after hours, right?
And those courts are 8 years old, and they
still look great.
Yeah, they still look great. So
and they play perfectly.
And Blair Descaret with Master Systems might even come up to the Denver area, right?
That's right.
You in
up
Denver?
in Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
He might make a trip up there. So, all right, Micah, you ready? Third set.
Third set.
Ready as I'll ever be, I think.
All right, here we go. First band you saw in concert. First band.
Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh, really? Where'd you see the Stone Temple Pilots? Where were they?
Actually, in my hometown, in Neu-Isenburg, which is just outside of Frankfurt. So,
really? Okay.
Smaller venue, maybe 6,000 people or something. But yep.
What year was that?
Oh, goodness.
In the 90s?
90, 91, 92, maybe?
Wow.
Really?
93?
Yeah. Somewhere in there, early 90s.
Back in the day, yep.
Were they your favorite band? Were they?
Yep.
Are you still listening?
I mean, them and Guns N' Roses, which is probably not necessarily the most normal choice, but Skid Row. Yeah. I don't know if anybody knows them.
Yeah.
But back in the day, hair metal was just huge.
Yeah, and I guess his name was Sebastian Bach. He named himself after the most famous composer ever, or one of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you have long hair and you wore headbands?
Yeah.
What a voice on that guy.
Those were the days. MTV. I remember the launch of MTV Germany.
Was that back when?
General MTV America. And then like 4, 5, 6 years later, they had their own MTV Germany, which from then on, it was just...
Well, that was back when MTV stood for music television.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Countdown with Adam Curry.
Adam Curry, also a long-haired fella.
Yes. Yeah, I remember the original VJs. That there was, Martha Quinn.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
JJ.
Yeah. Nina Blackwood, who'd always talk like she'd smoked about 5 packs of cigarettes. Had that voice. Yeah. Alan Hunter.
The blonde guy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was great. I really thought MTV was awesome back in the day. I still watch some of those videos, to see, watch the 80s. Sometimes they'll run some stuff, and I'm like, it's fun just to kind of reminisce about. Yeah, I'm a little older than you are.
Craig is speaking the truth. He likes it so much. One of his Christmas gifts to me last year was a red and green snowy MTV logo T-shirt.
T-shirt, nice.
Oh yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, no, I found them, and so we got twins.
Yeah,
so
we can wear it under a jacket or whatever in the winter. It's a good undershirt.
Nice.
Type of music that you like? Do you like alternative, kind of rock? I kind of think Stone Temple Pilots of that kind of genre, or what's your favorite?
And then of course grunge, then Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains, and and then at some point I really kind of stopped listening to music, sort of, and I'm still in that phase. Some German bands kind of made their way in when it was not necessarily David Hasselhoff.
Right.
So there's some actually really good German bands now, but I don't live in Germany anymore. So when I go home and I hear German music, I'm going, what the heck?
What is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it After the Fire, Der Kommissar?
He's, that's right, Falco.
Falco. There it is.
Falco,
Yes.
and, yeah. Or Nena, remember? 99.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
99 Luft balloons or something like that.
Yeah,
Red balloons, 99 red balloons. Is
big hit, yeah.
No, I remember that. There was a couple of good. We were always wondering, Der Kommissar, what the heck were they talking about? You know, nobody ever knew. I had to read it on Wikipedia what was going on. You know, that's
Did not make as much sense.
Yeah. The lyrics.
No, had nothing. Even in the German, it didn't make sense, right? In the German,
Nope. Not a whole lot.
nope. It was just a good beat. It was just
Awesome beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mike, if you were in a band, and you might have been in a band, we don't know that. We're just going to find this out. All right. So this tells a little bit about personality. Are you the lead singer? Are you like the drummer? Are you a piano player?
Guitarist.
You're a guitarist. Which one? Are you the bass or the lead?
No, the lead. I play a mean air guitar.
Yes.
Really?
On the chords.
Yes.
Actually, I'm also really into Celine Dion on chord.
Celine Dion and Axl Rose.
Some kind of reels together on Instagram.
You did.
There's trends every now and then, but I'm singing on chord terribly.
Yeah.
I do sing, and I'm holding a key, never the right one. I still do it.
Well, that Yonex air guitar is going to get a workout. We're looking forward to more of that.
I'm never, above making an utter fool out of myself on chords.
Good
I
for
actually
you.
enjoy that now these days.
We love that.
Celine Dion and Axl Rose. Who would have thought that would have ever come up together?
Yeah. baby. And okay, I'll leave it at that because
I'll leave it.
you lose all listeners.
So on this, who's your favorite? If you're playing air guitar, who are you thinking you are in the guitar spectrum?
Slash.
There's a lot of guitar
I
players.
knew it. We need the big black hat
All too
Slash.
long. I mean, that guy is just. Yeah. Just, not that I'm smoking, but with the cigar hanging out of the corner, with the hat, and you don't see the face, and
He's the man, huh?
Slash.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, we're going to go now into the second set of the third set. We do 3 sets in the second set as well. First paid job. What was your first paid job? Were you in Germany doing something? What's that?
tennis professional.
Tennis professional, right. Got out there and started working for a living, huh?
Yep. And I think that's when I started getting paid through my club, actually.
Yeah.
Played matches. So that was before I actually turned pro. But tennis professional.
And what age? About 15, did you say that you turned pro?
I think so. Yeah, 15, I think, when I started to get some marks. Back then, it was still Deutsch marks.
Yeah,
Right.
DM, yeah.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, I thought maybe had
Before the Euro.
maybe a little paper route or something like that, or mowed some lawns over there in the hometown. No, nothing like that. Dad didn't make you do that, huh?
Well, she was too busy borrowing tennis rackets hitting
Right.
with the wall.
I'm still borrowing. Borrowing. Nope, no paper routes. My brother did.
Yeah.
But,
Did he? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think maybe, I was too involved in tennis already.
Yeah, at that point.
Really good at spending money with tennis.
It is
Parents were really happy when I started making some. So
not a cheap sport, but helpful that your pop was a coach.
Yeah, Rick Eckloff says that is creatively acquired rackets. It's what
Acquired.
he said.
that is yes. I'm going to
perfect.
steal that.
Yeah, Rick, thank you, buddy.
Yes, you
I
created.
think I wanted to demo it.
Yes,
Go with that.
sure. Why not?
Whatever racket it was.
Favorite movie, TV shows? Are you watching some Netflix? Do you do that, or do you watch, regular TV? Do you do stuff like that, or movies?
I'm more of a reader. On TV, Sex Education on Netflix. Parks and Rec.
Yep.
Is phenomenal, I think. Family Guy. I'm rewatching that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Funny stuff.
Yeah, it's
But I'm not really watching as much TV. I'd rather read for some reason.
What do you read? Just out of curiosity.
Do you know what a cozy mystery is?
That's the genre. It is a genre. It's not just mysteries, but it's the cozy version of
How
it.
do you know that?
Miss Marple or Hercule Poirot. So there's always people being offed but it's not described as gruesome.
Yeah.
And, just randomly somebody gets bumped off. And it's not, it's pretty light entertainment.
These used to be called mystery novels, and now mystery novels are basically murder porn, and this is the more traditional version of a mystery novel.
Angela Lansbury and Murder, She Wrote.
That's definitely
in a book.
Exactly. That's exactly what
Mike,
he gets, electrocuted or decapitated or something, but it's not, described in like the most minute details. So you don't have to, think that people actually do get murdered.
Yeah. You kind of use your imagination. And they kind of let it go with that, right?
What's funny about Micah being so old school, learning, actually reading actual books, are we talking?
I read it on my iPad.
Oh, it's on the iPad. Okay.
Eyesight's not as great anymore.
I see. Okay, my eyes are still decent.
I can make the font a little bigger.
You could.
You can expand up also too with that. Yeah.
I get such a kick out of when I actually read a book that I own that between chapters there's no ads. It's amazing. It's crazy. I don't know how that happens, but I love it when it does.
I still do have some normal books and I reread them because the fantastic thing also is with that light entertainment is like you can reread them after 3-4 years. You've forgotten everything. But, it's feel-good literature is what I call it.
Feels good.
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Breakfast all day.
Morning. You're a morning person, huh?
I'm not necessarily a morning person, but morning food person. So I could eat breakfast, pancakes, bagels, smoothie all day for 3 meals.
Like scrambled eggs and that kind of stuff, bagels, or no more?
More sweet.
More sweet, okay.
More sweet. So one deal that I have with my clients is they can bribe me to get 2 overs with, or me not yelling quite as much and as loudly and with a German accent at them. If they bring mochas.
Yeah.
If you hit the ball over the fence, you immediately owe me 3 donuts.
Nice.
If you hit me, it's a dozen donuts.
You have rules.
They're down.
Yeah.
If you don't hit a ball that ends up being in because you're never prepared, you owe me a beer.
I love it.
These days I am very well kept in donuts and other chocolatey stuff.
Hey, what kind of beer? You're German and you come over to America where we kind of are known for crappy beer, but lately, particularly in your state, Colorado, we have some good ones. What do you drink when you have a beer?
Oh, God. Bud Light.
Oh, you do drink the crappy ones. Wow. You do. I thought you...
Basically, it's beer-flavored water.
Yeah, it's not even that.
I wish that I could be more, enjoying IPAs and porters and whatnot, because we have phenomenal breweries and in phenomenal settings.
Within 15 minutes drive of Denver,
Beautiful state. And every town has their own micro, brewery now, and, get a flight somewhere and here I am. It's like, Bud Light.
Bud Light.
I'm going with lager, and a lot of the breweries these days have Kolsch.
Kolsch, yeah.
Right.
So that's usually I ask, like, what's the wimpiest beer that you have on draft? And then they give me something, and then I'm happy.
That's nice.
Did you ever go to Munich for Oktoberfest?
Hell no.
No, never hung around the Munich beer gardens. I mean, that's classic. That's Bavarian.
I'm trying to figure out what is the cheesiest, most that all Americans avoid and only the tourists come to. That's the equivalent.
Ah, okay.
And Bavarians go. I mean, people from Munich do go, but to me, it's just, no, it doesn't make any sense.
I know when I lived in San Antonio, I never went to the Riverwalk, and that was the only.
That's right.
That's kind of like the cheese ball.
That is the perfect embodiment of touristy.
Yeah.
I live.
I the tournament in San Antonio years and years. I mean, back in the day, of course. And yes, we would go to the Riverwalk, of course.
Yeah, I only went there when I had in-laws in town or family, and somebody said, "Hey, let's go to the Riverwalk." And I go, "Let's not," But I can understand the appeal. So occasionally I would go down there.
Don't you have the Mall of the Americas or something?
Oh, up in Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah, but San Antonio has a humongous one too.
Oh, I see.
North Park Mall. It has the big cowboy boot in front of it. Is that the one that you went to?
It was even back then, it was huge. And of course, then, that's where you go.
Yeah.
I remember Steffi Graf that was a U.S. women's national tournament. Seemed like there was in the mid to late 80s that Steffi Graf liked to come there because there was a custom shoemaker there. I remember reading this.
She got the boots.
Yes, or had something, and it was custom made, but there was a really high level women's tournament for a number of years in the San Antonio area. That's probably the one you were talking about, aren't you?
Yeah, that was one of the first ones I qualified for, actually. And that's why I saw when you said Craig Carden.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Martina was the number 1 seed, and I watched her train a little bit, and they did a drill that I'm still now doing with clients, only that I could do it for 2 minutes, and she did it for 45 minutes straight. And it was actually 2 guys, and I think it must have been college players or whoever it was, her at the net, and they just vary everything, overheads, volley, overhead and Craig was picking up the balls to have, basically balls in play all the time. And I mean, she took maybe 3 breaks in the 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Yep. You're number 1 for a reason.
The best, the best of the best.
Yeah. No, I think it was at McFarland Tennis Center. Probably you're playing over there. There were 3 courts in a row, and they put a stadium in the middle, if I recall correctly. And
could be, yeah.
It was pretty hot as well.
Yeah.
It was hot and humid in San Antonio at that time. I remember that tournament. It was a really nice women's tournament. But I remember Steffi Graf always liked coming. It said in the paper. I was reading. I didn't know that personally. I don't know her, but she was quoted as saying, "I like coming to San Antonio because there's a custom shoemaker that can fit her." I think she had a fairly large foot, and at that time, and it was hard for her to find regular shoes at her size, and so this custom shoemaker made a lot of shoes for her. So that's why she liked coming to San Antonio. But anyway,
I didn't know.
Yeah, now you know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
So Paul Harvey, rest of the story.
The rest of the story.
All right, so speaking of food, all right, so we always like to ask this question because we know AJ and I would be invited to this party, the shindig, hoedown, whatever you want to call it, wherever you'd like to go. Who would be 4 people, maybe more, that you would invite? It can be somebody all the way back at the beginning of time, all the way into the metaverse.
Yeah, it could be fictional characters. Yeah. Pick
somebody from the murder mystery, the cozy murder mysteries that you read.
Oh God, 4 people that I would love to have dinner with,
or maybe more. Doesn't matter.
I would prefer to have one-on-one, just so I can, soak up that a little bit more. Michelle Obama.
Oh, okay.
Malala.
From Pakistan.
Yep. The brother and sister Charlotte. They were in the resistance against Hitler and Nazi Germany, and that's a huge part of our history, obviously. And that's the 4. Mm-hmm. Greta Thunberg would be fun.
Swedish girl.
Yeah.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes.
Those were the ones kind of that I always thought, and I've read biographies and all that kind of stuff. So that's my dinner table.
Yeah, that's a great lineup. We've had several of those people, and that'd be really interesting. AJ and I feel lucky that we're going to be there.
Yeah, what a quintet that would be.
Yes.
Mahatma Gandhi has been mentioned on this show before, but Thunberg and the brother and sister in the 30s in Germany, we haven't heard. Malala, I think we have heard.
But but we haven't heard Michelle Obama. That's the first one. Yeah. That's the first time.
I think we got her husband on the show, but not
Michelle.
Michelle herself. Good choice.
So what would we'd be serving at this soiree, shindig?
Yeah, what's on the menu?
What's on the menu?
Nothing I cook.
You're not a chef, huh?
Nothing. Well, it's just kind of not necessarily my thing. Eating to me is more something that it's useful. Although if you do go to a nice restaurant, but I love Indian food.
Spicy?
Not really. More the creamier stuff.
I see. Cream, yeah.
Thai. I could pretty much almost everything. Other than I'm a vegetarian. Uh-huh. Also nothing that wiggles or squid or something. I don't know why that came up now in my head.
Worms.
Italian food.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I do really miss here. little known fact about my hometown, Neu-Isenburg, has the highest per capita pizzeria number in all of Germany.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
So, there you go. So it also is the city actually that is known for the production of Frankfurters.
It's near Frankfurt.
Did not call it Neu-Isenburgers because nobody would be able to say that.
No, that's a tough name to pronounce.
Are from my hometown. So a really decent kind of mom and pop sort of hole in the wall pizzeria. That's just something that I have not found here, which could be in New York or where you have Italy, town of Italy.
Yeah, Little Italy over there. You'll find a few of these in San Francisco too, in North Beach or.
We certainly don't have that here. So that's something that I do miss.
Is it the thin, crispy nonsense that I don't like, or is it more the thick? Thick.
Yeah, real pasta.
Oh no. I'm a New York style pizza guy.
You like Chicago even. You like the thicker.
I want to flip it over.
Fold it in.
Yes. Man, I want that.
That with the original too. You just rolled it up and, of course, one pizza there is like one slice here.
Right.
Portions are so
massive over here.
Yeah, I want
a little bigger.
Right. That sounds like a great dinner. Are we going to be like at Red Rocks, sitting outside, and
that is with candlelight, and in the background you have Brandy Carlisle playing. Then
wow,
this sounds pretty good. Let's see, we can make this happen in about 24 hours, so we'll be up there.
Well, let's put an invitation into my 5 guests or 4 guests.
Yeah.
Oh, we can get them.
Obama, Gandhi, the twin, the brother and sister.
That's easy.
Malala.
That's an easy deal. Well, East Coast, West Coast here in the United States. East Coast, West Coast.
West Coast.
Okay, what part are the West Coast? Because it goes all the way from Washington all the way down to San Diego. Where are you thinking?
Let's put it. I have not been in the Pacific Northwest a whole lot.
Okay.
So that's definitely something. So I can't really say, okay, been there.
Right.
I would love to go because I've been, up and down the East Coast.
Sure.
That's obviously where all the tournaments were.
Sure.
West Coast, some through other stuff and traveling with college with Vanderbilt and Tulane, some. But I really haven't been in Oregon or Washington, so that's definitely something still on the bucket list.
So more the L.A., San Diego kind of area, Manhattan Beach, or more like maybe Santa Barbara.
Not turn that down either.
Right, just the West Coast.
Just West Coast a little bit more because I just haven't been as much.
Right.
Yeah. Out of curiosity and experience.
Yeah, I lived in the Southeast for 16 years. And through tennis, I've been in pretty much, all states there.
Yeah. So I got an idea of this follow-up question here. I have an idea what you're going to say. Mountains or beach? Knowing where you live.
Mountains, of course, but beach as long as I don't have to go very far out into the water because I'm a little afraid of sharks.
Really? Okay. I figured you'd swim well, but sharks are a threat, huh?
I swim okay, but nope.
Nope. No shark. Nope. No, that's
paddleboarding. Yes, lake any day, but
so
could be a little something wrong with me on that part, but
no, I agree. Sharks aren't any fun, especially around Florida, around that part of the country. They have a tendency to kind of hover around there. I don't hear as many shark attacks over on the West Coast side as much, but I'm sure there are some, but you don't hear.
I would also not go very far out there.
Right.
So probably like 7 yards out and then going parallel to the beach with my paddleboard.
It's about waist high, maybe, and that's it. Yeah, you don't want to go too far. But so we know you live in Denver. Do you prefer the wintertime Denver or the summertime Denver, or all of it?
I love all of it because the most bizarre thing is you can still play outdoors here in the winter.
That's amazing. It's sunny.
Yay, global warming. Huh. If you are willing to shovel snow, our facility doesn't have indoor courts. If you can play during the day, of course, because the daylight is the limiting factor. But especially through Corona, we used to be, if it's 40 and below, we're not playing. because opportunities were a little limited for 2 years. Now, all of a sudden, we're out when it's like 32 and the sun is out. If the sun's not out, it's miserable, and then the balls don't bounce anymore. But I have started to almost like that better than 110 degrees out on court. I mean, you know that.
Yeah,
we do.
Only we don't have the humidity, so that's different. But you're getting roasted because we're up like 5,480.
Yeah.
something like that, mile high.
Yeah, it's a mile or just over a mile.
Yeah, whatever mile is.
5,280, and the sun is very direct on your face. I know that climate up there.
I just picture a beekeeper.
With you do the hat and the cover. Oh, good for you.
I have a full face cover.
You really do it.
I have hand covers. I have special. I mean, this clothing is like SPF or UPF.
Yeah.
I have pants on that are because I had skin cancer and had, what it felt like half my face cut off.
Really?
The other reason why I have a face covering is so I can laugh at you. Can't see it. Or roll my eyes.
Right. Yeah, with the sunglasses and the hat. Yeah.
In German under my breath, and nobody can read my lips. So there's multiple reasons why I'm fully covered.
Yet another reason people need to email you and get on your roster.
It's when I get new people, I always, this is what I look like.
Yeah.
This is my face. I do have a face. And then when people see me, like very few people ever see me with like this.
The ponytail, yeah.
Yeah, or just regular. In the winter, they do, and they go, "Oh, wow, I wouldn't have recognized you."
Yeah,
shocker. I usually don't ever show you my face.
Like, oh, look at that big smile! I can't believe it. I thought she was just muttering in German at me.
Oh, I'm making fun of my clients all day.
You are. You're funny.
Do you ever go? I'm just curious. Now that you're off the tour, do you go skiing? Because you live pretty close to a number of ski resorts. I just wonder because Germany's huge skiing.
I don't, to be honest, because I'm a little scared to get injured, because I do have clients every single year that come back with dislocated knee or broken this, that, and the other, and it's just not worth it. I go snowshoeing, and I like doing that and just running around in the snow, but I don't go skiing.
Did your family were they skiers in Germany? Because I know Germany's
back home. We did go on vacation a couple of times, but then. Later, actually, I couldn't because of my insurance. Sure. Because it would have been, it was deemed too high a risk, which I totally get.
Yeah, no, I just had thought about that. Just you're living that close to the mountains. I wondered, now that you're not a professional tennis player.
Everybody who is out here, if I say I-70, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. That is another reason why I don't go skiing.
Right. Yeah.
That highway, That highway heading west from your place.
It's I-70, and everybody knows what I'm talking about here in Colorado.
Sure. I've been through the Eisenhower Tunnel a few times.
There we go. Yep.
Back in my day. And Vail, been through Vail, and Glenwood Springs.
Wow.
Glenwood Springs is the greatest. I love that city. That little town. You go through the canyon there, Glenwood Canyon. Oh, it's awesome. So it's an interesting drive out all the way to. I went to college in Utah. I went on the other side of the mountains, and so I've driven all those roads, a number of thousands of different ways. Yeah. And I like going. 70 is hard to get up. Even climbing or going down. You gotta watch out. You gotta pay attention. There's some people who drive over the speed limit. AJ.
Now that we have just and I'm one of them, of course.
Yeah.
That moved here. When you experienced that 2 years ago, of course, when you went to college, I think.
Yeah, it was 2 years. 2 years ago.
2 years ago. There was not as much traffic, so it's interesting these days.
Yeah, just a couple of years ago. What do you like to do in your spare time? When you have spare time?
I am terrible at spare timing. I have recently really gotten into plants.
Oh, plants, like in the home or outside?
No, I don't have a yard. But if I could have my monitors, I have a little bit of a jungle these days.
I love it.
Fantastic. And it's probably not the best hobby for me because I'm not super patient. And when you then propagate plants and when you do stuff and you go like, can you freaking
grow?
So but it is really calming in certain other ways to just fiddle around with, plants. So
I've killed a few plants.
Yeah.
I killed a lot of them. Actually, I've got one in my office that barely limping along there. I forget to water it every now and then, but fortunately it doesn't need a whole lot of water. But, I was watching Shark Tank the other day. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So do you have like the magnet? These guys they had a magnet that he had a planter and you could put, plants and things like that inside. So for people like you who don't have a yard, you could there was a magnet board basically, and it was, you could attach this planter.
The pot to the bulletin board?
Yeah, it was really interesting, and he did get a couple of people to buy in on it. I love to watch Shark Tank in my spare time. I watch that's the old ones especially, but it was really interesting. They're still in business, so I didn't know when you said you had plants and
don't have that, but I, with my very limited handy skills, I've put up shelves and hanging rods, and for my purposes, perfect. So yeah, and I'm not grown. I've grown basil actually a little bit.
Oh, cool.
But that's about it.
That's about it.
The non-killing kind.
The
ones I started out with. So yeah.
Oh, you really started off with basil that was poisonous?
No. Just plants basically that you can kill.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.
You would have to water it to death.
I see. Things that are hardy and tough to kill. I see. Yeah.
You don't need a whole lot of light. Don't need a whole lot of water. And now I'm graduating up to more taxing foliage stuff.
I can visualize Meike growing aloe for the skin. I know that's one of the.
I do have those.
Yeah, that's one of the plants that I use all the time because I'll get. I'm not always perfect about wearing a hat every day. So I sometimes get burnt just about here and here. And for me, the aloe plant is good.
Might I suggest a cactus? It's hard to kill those.
That's tough to kill.
That is true. I have some succulents, but you would be surprised how easy it is to kill those.
There's a bunch of them growing down in Arizona, so I see those out there, and they don't need much water, but I could probably kill those just as well. All right, let's go to the third set.
The third set.
Third set of the third set. We're going to round around here. We've already taken a couple hours of your time, so I'm going to go fast in this.
This is awesome.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time. We can go a lot longer, but our longest is Devor Dakaris. Do you know Devor from
Yes.
Yes.
Tennis house.
I
bet you two speak some.
He's German, and I connected with him last year. Actually, he invited me to speak at the
Tennis house.
Louisiana, Alabama, whatever, USPTA.
Yes.
I mean, he made it a USPTA conference.
Yes.
And that's how we connected. And he's just an amazing guy. I mean,
What a delightful guy. He's a good friend. Yeah, we're in touch with him all the time. Yeah, Devor Dakaris.
He went 3 hours in the German number 3 right there. So from Inglourious Bastards, I know that this is it.
He even delved into his background before Germany down in Croatia. And he delved into the paranormal a little bit, if I recall.
Yes.
It was such a funny, deep digging, deep dive kind of show. It was so good.
I digress.
It was crazy tangent.
I've got some after hours questions as well. So I mean, I've got a clipboard here of notes here that
I have cardio tennis tomorrow at 7:30. Up until that time, I'm good.
Okay. Good. Well, all right. Indoor tennis or outdoor tennis?
Outdoor on clay.
Clay? Okay.
And it's only good if your socks are completely red.
Ooh, the red clay. Wow.
Which, of course, I can't get here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where the closest red clay court is Dallas Country Club. I know we have.
They
red
just
clay.
Installed some nice European red ones.
So they didn't get the synthetic red from Hartrue?
It could be, but the color looks pretty close, and I haven't hit on them. I did hit on, and I have dark red socks to prove it 2 weeks ago in Houston.
Really?
And sliding, and it was absolutely delightful. You would have loved it, but it's not that orangey European red. This is more the maroon USA sort of dark red.
Or a little grainier.
A little grainier, and it was still just amazing, and not one bad bounce, unless you hit the lines. The lines were the taped rather than the chalk. Yeah. So not perfect, but close.
but that's clay.
It's clay. It's the best. Yeah.
South Texas, that's Aggie red. So
That is in South,
A&M.
in that part of Texas. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Was there a tournament when you hit a shot that you felt like you became a player? Was there one defining moment that you said, hey, you know what? I can do this.
I belong.
Yeah. I mean, maybe growing up in juniors or maybe in the pro ranks. Was there a shot? Because I can remember a shot.
Not necessarily a shot, but there was a match.
Okay.
Because one of the things was, I was a late bloomer, but also because of my birthday I'm born at the end of the year on the 22nd of November. And anybody who knows, junior tennis, you always play with 2 years, basically. And I was always the youngest. Mm-hmm. And I was not necessarily chosen for a lot of things, which in retrospect was good because I didn't get burned out. But at the time, of course, if you're being overlooked for players that you think are not as good, that's frustrating. And tell that to a 14-year-old, right? Because we don't look long-term. But I beat actually it was a prize money tournament somewhere in Germany, played with Traytorn balls.
Oh, I remember them. Yeah. Was it the pressureless or those little?
Pressureless.
It was, yeah.
So I beat she had just won the European Championships in the under 14s, I want to say. So that was really for the first time when I was like, okay, it's not just me thinking that I can do this. I can really do this. So that stood out.
Did you have the Traytorn shoes? Did you wear those canvas? No. Oh, those, I remember those when you said the balls.
Before her time. That's more our time. Yeah, I love those shoes.
I had a Slazenger, believe it or not, Slazenger racket.
Oh, really?
It's a weird gray one. I do not have any clue what the heck my dad was thinking, but I did well with it. So.
Was it the 95 head that was gray with the weird strings? Or was it before that, the Jimmy Connors one?
Legitimate looking racket.
Oh, yeah.
Was that? No, it was Snowward, I think, with that weird.
Snoward had the ergonom with the shape tilted, yeah.
Yeah, which I'm never quite sure what on earth they were thinking there, but no, it's a good racket, but it's just like an old company.
Yeah,
and Slazenger.
Yeah, I came from Slazengers too. I had Dunlop Max Plies, but before that, Slazenger Challenge 1. One of my favorite Spaniards, Manolo Orantes, used that one, so I loved him. 75 Forest Hills champ, the big lefty.
Yeah, that was good.
He used a Slaz.
I remember seeing a few people that wood laminated one, way back in the 70s. That was a really pretty racket.
Yeah.
It was
also Slazenger made that Vilas V24. That was kind of a dark red with wood, and that's one of my favorite Slaz too. Yeah. Slazengers, yeah.
Nice frames. Favorite tournament? What's your favorite tournament? And it can be a junior tournament, it can be a professional tournament, doesn't matter. Just a favorite tournament.
There was a tournament in Austria, in Maria Lankowitz.
Oh, wow.
I have no idea why on earth they it was in the middle of nowhere, not even anywhere close to, and I did really well twice there. And it was at a little lake and a very just super nice, welcoming atmosphere. And you were anybody, they made a big deal about everybody, which I like because, again, me in the foothills and on the tennis Mount Olympus was a little different. So I really, really liked that. And I did pretty well there too. And I did like all the German tournaments because they were really just incredibly well run and organized. And I like those. But the best I remember that going like, okay, it's time to go again.
So this was a town
2 or 3 times.
And this was a town called Maria Lankowitz, not Innsbruck, Vienna, Linz, Salzburg, all these famous.
It was somewhere, is it pronounced Styria? In that state there, Bundesland. Yeah. And so I think the closest may have been Klagenfurt. I have no idea why they gave that tournament to there.
But they treated everybody like royalty.
It was awesome. You had, just the tournament director, made his rounds and came to practice courts and introduced himself, and it was awesome. And that usually never happened.
That's the kind of personal touch this man puts into all events.
Oh,
yes.
Well, thank you.
You didn't know that.
Even if it's just 30 people in a little tennis event.
Well, I think it was Dom Team's dad. Dom, did your dad run that tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's a joke, Craig. I enjoyed having Mike all the time, no?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. This is awesome. Tio Tony was awesome.
I get, German accent is good, but that South Austrian accent where they speak from down here, I love it. I always laugh when Roger Federer makes fun of Dominic Thiem's accent. Like, I can't stop giggling, you know?
We all make fun of the Austrians.
Always. Oh, that accent is and we do it in America too with Schwarzenegger.
Right.
In California. Everybody has a Schwarzenegger impression.
Yeah. No.
Yep.
It's funny stuff. When you said Austria, I go, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
He's got a few more voices as well. I haven't teed him up yet. But,
we don't have to do all.
Okay. We have to do all of them. Okay. Most embarrassing moment in tennis. Most embarrassing moment. Has there been, did you fall into the net one time, or did you?
I have a really good one.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, tell us.
At the French Open, court Suzanne Longlong.
Big court.
Against Martina Hingis.
Wow.
Really good rally, structured it really well, had her in the ropes, basically, high forehand. Yeah, stumbled and pretty much fell.
You fell.
Full out fall, but I don't think I whiffed the forehand. Yeah.
Awful.
Just make up.
Yeah.
In your imagination, it was ugly.
So not just your socks got red, probably your bum, your skirt, everything.
I think I got on one knee or something. I mean, I kept balance, not like totally falling on my face, but and then not only do you feel like an utter idiot, but everybody in the crowd goes, oh, in the French, like, oh, zut alors.
Did you call a medical timeout after that? Did you have to?
I just looked over and Martina was laughing. I was laughing. And it was just like,
okay.
She's laughing too.
All right.
You don't have to laugh at me, Martina. We know that you're going to win. But thanks.
Do you like to watch tennis on TV?
Now I do.
Do you?
I do have to admit I had a really hard time for about 5, 6, 7 years after I played because it wasn't my choice to retire. It was injury.
Yeah.
And I didn't really enjoy the game styles. I mean, it was just when all these big hitters came out, and that was not anything I could relate to because, here's Meike back at the baseline, rolling the heaviest ball on earth and then chipping it and doing whatever. And there's just like,
and flat and a lack of texture and nuance. I know Craig always makes fun of me for using that word, but having seen you play live, you played with so much texture and friction and both sides, both spins. And that was missing for a solid decade when it was a lot of screaming and flat and, it felt like more of a video game.
But, you had somebody, of course, like Ash Barty, Karolina Pliskova, and Mukova. She comes in on purpose.
Yeah.
There's even a couple of one-handers out there now.
There's a couple.
Yep. And, I mean, people are coming in. There's better volleying again a little bit, I think. You have Ons Jabeur with drop shots, just like tennis IQ, and it's not just sheer force. It felt to me, at least for a long time. And now there's different teaching, I think also coaching and recognizing like, oh no, we can teach girls volleys and we can teach girls slices.
Yeah.
And it's actually helpful.
Do you think they miss by playing doubles? Is that would that help if some of the girls would not concentrate so much on singles and maybe play little doubles every now and then?
I'm not sure if they would come in more in singles, but I think just the variety and just finding more angles and opening the court a little bit more, that would definitely happen. But then I'm also sometimes watching doubles and it has zero to do with what we used to do. And I mean, I played serve and volley on everything.
Yep.
And then again, at the end of my career, you had somebody like Chanda Rubin, for instance, returning with Mach 800.
Yep.
And I'm taking my first volley 2 yards outside of the service line. Then you do stay back. And I think, it has a lot to do with how we teach. And we don't teach, unfortunately, still not girls the same way as we do boys, because again, as I said earlier, we mature quicker, and you can be very successful very early on with, to my mind, a limited game.
That is so heavy. You mind if I go off on a tangent here?
Keep going.
You said something very, very big. You said sometimes we teach girls differently. I have two little examples. I was, at a Chinese restaurant. We're watching a band. We're having a great time. And for some reason, I'm eating with the chopsticks with the left hand. And with the right hand, it's fluid and I'm great and whatever. I could play tennis lefty, but chopsticks was tough. And it made me think of something that I'd seen that weekend, which was an L3 national, very good level of tennis. These people are, some of them will get into Kalamazoo, the boys, some of them will get into the top. It made me think, the way I hold the damn things lefty, it's like the chopsticks are on my hand and not in my hand. Then I watch Ons Jabeur or Ashley Barty or Iga Swiatek, and I'm like, gosh, the racket is in the hand. It's an extension of everything, and no wonder they can do this spin, that spin, drops, lobs, whatever. Then you have some women who are taught, and I'm probably talking a bit less about the Pro Tour, but a little bit. I'm certainly talking about the top level of 18 and unders in Division I college tennis, where it seems like the racket is on the hand and not in it, and it just seems so weird and disjointed. And it seems to me, and I haven't actually interviewed some of these players, but it seems to me that they're doing certain things because the coach said, and not because it's gorgeous and natural and kinetic. What's your perspective on how maybe you don't want to teach women differently and you'd like to just teach the organic tennis? Tell me what your thoughts are.
So I'm hearing a little bit about that dreaded discussion of the damn ATP forehand versus WTA forehand.
Right, this forehand versus this one, yeah.
Yeah, I teach what you have as, you come in with a certain set of given things. Your flexibility, your strength, your mobility, your vision abilities, your perception.
Yeah.
So for me to say you can't break the plane and force mostly girls, because that is what most coaches do when they see girls. Oh, you can't have such a big windup, and then you force them into something that's not natural. That is when you get those players. And I'm Dr. Mark Kovacs.
Oh yeah.
If you had him, that would be a fantastic discussion to have. It's as long as you're able to make contact effectively, consistently, you can break the plane all day long. I mean, whoever was teaching Simona Halep, Madison Keys, I could go on, and they didn't force them into a certain pattern. They were smart people, because look at their forehands. I think, a lot of times it's really, what the coach wants. And I coach the way that I would have loved to be coached. And that's more, who am I as a personality? Who am I as a player? Who am I as a kid back then? And I do have to say that the really formative coaches, my dad and also one other guy in my home club, they recognize that I'm super playful. I'm a really good athletic, developed kid. I could have played soccer or field hockey at a very high level. But they recognize that, no, you're not going to make me into a baseline grinder, because I want to come in. I want to drop shot. I want to, play a volley lob and maybe get my butt kicked doing that. But eventually it'll fall into place, and it did. So they never limited me in anything. And I think that is still really going on a lot, because you can be fairly successful fairly early on. And that's unfortunately what a lot of, at a more higher level, what a lot of coaches go for, what they sell the parents, and what the parents then at the end of the day wants. I had parents of little girls say, like, we don't want you to teach them slices and volleys. They don't need that. I'm like, sure, but another coach to do that.
Oh, that is sad and honest and earnest of you to answer that way. One of the things I love that you talked about forehands and nuance and touch. I was standing next to, this is not at the Chinese restaurant, but at who is a Division I women's college coach, and it's so glaringly obvious to both of us, and I'm going to use him more as the lead on this, when a young woman, age 18, who would like to play his team's level of college tennis, but she has everything but a serve or has everything but the intangibles. One of the things, or two of the things you really talked about were the slices and the continental grip skills, but also the forehand, breaking the plane or not. But talk a little bit about the serve. I want you to get into why. Is it some systemic thing that developmental coaches aren't bloody teaching a proper serve to girls?
Yep.
Or like, what is it? Hit me. Yeah. Give us the real.
That one I can answer flat out. Yeah. Yes. Because when I was growing up, who was our big idol? Boris Becker.
Boris.
Why did he win Wimbledon? Because he was serving like an absolute freak. Yeah. So what did all the boys, of course, want to work on, but what did all the coaches see? Serve.
Yes.
And that's, because it's a form of aggression right away. And with girls, for the longest time, I was told girls cannot kick serve because we don't have the strength.
Come on.
And then I'm going like, let me ask you, which gender is giving birth and has certain muscles that are developed for that males never, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, clearly.
But it was...
Huge serve, yeah.
Right, and that's Pliskova. I don't know what her average is, or what's Rybakina.
Yeah, Elena Rybakina, yeah.
I mean, they can all serve, of course, and that's really, really smart coaching.
Well, we got to get Kovacs CB. Let's reach out to him.
Yeah,
it's a good follow up to this incredible guest tonight.
Yep.
Anything else from the crowd or in the last bit of the third set, my friend?
No. We always like to end with the last question. If you could wave the magic tennis wand and you were the commissioner of the great game, what would you do to the game? Would there be anything you would change, or do you like the way it is in any aspect?
I would love to have more women coaches, period.
It's happening.
All levels.
It's happening thanks to people like you.
Decent here in the U.S., but I know that other countries, there's other countries that are doing a much better job. France, Spain, the Netherlands, Belgium, of all places. But they very actively recruit former top players. Like, you have a place in coaching our elite juniors. And I think that's, but they just have different systems also. So that's, you can't really compare the two. It's still fairly different. But yeah, I think college coaching, club coaching, get more women in there.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I like that. I mean, that's
my magic.
Yep. The wand.
Fairy godmother.
Yes. And that's an important. I mean, I'm father of 3 daughters, and
one son, 3 daughters. You have,
and would like them to have successful careers like Micah, and would like them to be involved whatever they want to do. But if coaching is part of their ideas, for a good life, then hey, I'm all behind that. So I would love to. I'm totally 1,000% behind you on that. I think that there's. The more opportunities, the better opportunities for everybody, right? Like that. Yeah. That in the women's world. So, but
Michael, what a tremendous fun guest you've been for us.
Yes,
And
thank you.
I mean, only 2 hours, but I feel like we're close friends already.
Yeah. Our buddies Andy Zoden.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's up there.
Kickserve radio guy.
Yeah. AZ. Yeah, he's a great guy. So he's one of our friends that up in the area, amongst others that I've known in the area. I don't know if you've run into Kay Barney, the head pin racket sports rep. So he's played with me at Weber State back in the day. He's from Littleton.
Cool.
He lives over in the Littleton area. So.
Yeah.
But really good friend of mine. So, but well, thanks for your time. We certainly appreciate that, and maybe might have to have you back for a second appearance.
We got to do
a little deeper.
We got to do Babel Part 2. Yeah, one day.
All right.
One day.
I'm up for it.
Well,
You keep in touch.
Thank
That
you.
was so fun tonight. Thank you, dear.
Thank you a lot.
Awesome.
Certainly
All
appreciate
right.
your time. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night, Michael.
Bye.
Take care.